Hi, everyone. My name is Sean Jones, and I am the CEO of the iNetrepreneur Network. And today I have a dear friend of mine, Dr. Joseph Blake Jr. Dr. Joe, as I call him lovingly, is a writer, he's an author, he's all about financial literacy, he's a veteran, and he serves in so many capacities. Dr. Joe, thank you so much for being here today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So, Dr. Joe, before we dive into financial literacy, share with us a little bit about your background. I know that you served in the Air Force.
Yes. Well, I served in the Air Force for 12 years, 10 months, and 11 days. And not to say I was counting, but somebody was. I was in the Air Force. I was a military firefighter, of all things. And finance and firefighting, believe it or not, it is similar. Got out of the Air Force, and then I began my educational, studies. I got my bachelor's, my master's, and I got my PhD. Married for 23 years now. We have a combined family of four adult children, and they all have advanced degrees as well. My two sons are pursuing their PhD and trying to chase dad. And we have six grandkids. So full family now.
And you have a daughter who is following in your footsteps and developing her military career, correct?
Yes, my youngest daughter, she's a powerhouse, I call it. She's 5 foot tall and 120 pounds, and she is a commander in the U.S. Army. She's a company commander.
Yeah, she's such a delight. I mean, what an accomplishment as a young woman and pursuing and achieving those goals.
Yes.
Now, Dr. Joe, how did you get onto the path of financial literacy?
Well, it started when I was in the military. I was taking a course in Arkansas on personal finance. And that one course, and when I got to Arizona, I ran into a friend of mine that was learning about getting into finance, and that company kind of sparked me. And then I got my degree. I got my license as an investment advisor representative, and that grabbed a hold of me. And then when I got my doctoral degree, I did my research, and my research was about the influence of financial literacy on faith-based epistemology. And that research, I did that. It was about finance and religion. And my study, I published an article in an academic journal, and I won a Distinguished Paper Award that was published in 2014. And that launched everything for me. And I knew I wanted to dive more into it. Then I wrote my book about financial literacy. And I had to get a term, because that financial literacy is like plastered. Sometimes people just plaster that and use it as a hook to draw people in. But I had to define that term. And shortly, it means gaining access to economic information and then making use of those concepts. So it's not just getting that term out there, but you got to be able to gain access, making economic information, then making use of those terms that you get. And you want to build a financially literate individual and family. That's what
Absolutely.
you want to do.
How did you come up with, what was the correlation between faith and finance? I mean, you don't usually hear those two put in a sentence, and oftentimes we don't talk about it. I mean, you can have your faith regardless of, which faith that happens to be, but you don't necessarily intertwine the faith and the finance together.
Right. Now, because I was at that time, I was in church too, and it was like one guy got me into three things at the same time. One, there's always that one person that gets you, that comes into your life, and that one guy, he got me into the finance business. He was instrumental in getting me to going to church and getting me saved. And he was there the day I met my wife, my current wife. And we've been, like I said, my wife and I have been married for 23 years. that one guy. And when I was going to this one church, I was learning the same thing about faith. And then I was in my finance business learning about finance, and it all meshed together. So, and I've read the Bible myself, front to back, 8 different times. And it was different versions of the Bible. I read the NIV version, I read the King James version, and I read the Message. I read different versions of it. And I wanted to know what was causing believers or Christians to get stuck financially. So when I did my research, I went to like 3 different types of churches. I went to an Anglo church, I went to African American church, and I went to a Latino church. And I stayed at each location for like 3 months, 2 to 3 months, so I can understand what the pastors at each location was teaching their people about finance and what the Bible was saying. And I wanted to know what information they were gaining and what they were using or not using and causing them to possibly be stuck. And was it, biblical finance and prosperity? What was it, causing them? And so I was seeing what was there and what they were learning and what they were not learning. And as a matter of fact, one location, because they all talked about the Bible, one location that they didn't have a Bible. Wow. But I found all the information. I put it within my research, and I shared it within my book. But this is the first book. I have 2 other ones after this.
Now, you talk a lot about research, or definitely you do seek out a lot of information. Mm-hmm. During your time in researching in the different areas, what was the one thing that really stuck out the most to have you create and bring together Building Financial Literacy?
What I found that the missing was, there was my model. I have what's called a behavior model and a decision model. So that was the missing, is that families were missing it in their decision making, and it's based on the behaviors that they were having, the behaviors that they weren't developing within their lives. And you can go back to like myself. I grew up in the inner city of Baltimore, on the west side of Baltimore. And you can go back now and even look and see that the west side of Baltimore is actually, for that demographic, is West Baltimore is in the top 10 of the most dangerous places to live in Baltimore. I mean, it's top 10 dangerous. But I was able to come out of that. And so it's not necessarily you being in that environment. It's your mindset, knowing that even though you're in that type of environment, you can get out of it. And knowing that it's your behaviors, and you have to adjust that behavior and the decisions that you make, that you can get out of it. So your behaviors is one set of it, and the decisions that you make outside of that, and even in that behavior, in those behaviors, gets you out of it. So I have a behavior model that you use inside your decision model, and it shows you how to make those changes to change your behavior, so you can make better financial decisions and better choices within your life. And it's a continuous effort. It's a continuous effort. So the behaviors you change you have knowledge, and you have actions that you use your behaviors to change those actions to make better behavior choices and decisions for your future.
Now, you focus a lot on families. Do you do counseling for couples and their children? Do you work strictly with the adults? Do you work with veterans? Do you have a certain client that you like to work with?
Well, ideally, as they can be, ideally the best work is I wouldn't say the best, but ideally a marriage. They're married. They're age 25 to 45. They have children, and they may have a job, or they have homeowners or something. Because those are ideal where I can do the greatest work. That's ideal. However, I can work with those that are not within that in that realm. Because I've also worked with folks that are single, and then they get married. and then they have another child, and then have another one, and they grow from that point, and from that endeavor. As a matter of fact, earlier today, I was speaking with another group, an education group, where they're working with young folks that are at disadvantage, and they're educating them about money and how to get that money. And if they're in a disadvantaged group, which is I was part of, because even though I have a degree, I have a doctorate, my children are working on a doctorate, my daughter's a commander, and my oldest daughter is a social worker. How to get out of that disadvantaged thinking and grow further. My mother never finished high school, but she was like the smartest woman that I knew. My mom was like the bomb. That's why I dedicated my book to my mother. And so how to get out of that way of thinking. And my mother said, always told me and my sister has a double master's, that we should be better than her. And, and that pushed me so much. And my dad is still in my picture, but, I got a lot of my training and my development from my mother.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And your nature is to inspire others. I mean, through your personal upbringing, to live in what I call a true statistic. I mean, they make statistics off of the area that you grow up in, and that's hard. Yeah. And, unfortunately, so many people don't pull themselves up and out, and they fall into a cycle, and it goes from generation to generation. And you and your family pulled out. And even though your mom didn't have that degree, she still knew she wanted more for you. And you take your experience and your knowledge. I know you were in the book Art of Connection. You wrote a beautiful quote to help inspire entrepreneurs and business owners and people that may be working for corporate America that are looking for something different. Do you recall what you wrote in that book?
Well, my quote is rather long, so I'll keep it kind of short. Was about you can't tell a man or person what they're going to do or who they're going to be based on where they're from or where they were raised at, because that man or that person's desire is defined by God, or that their maker, or their creator. Because if you look at where I came from in West Baltimore, you would, and I didn't have my father in my life growing up like that. You would look at me and say, okay, that little guy's going to be a failure. He's not going to have much because he was raised by a single mother that was quote uneducated, and so he's not going to be, and me and my sister not going to be anything in life. So you just write that dude off. And if you look at it now, I have my home. I bought it at $270, and now it's worth $420. That's equity. I drive now I didn't drive this before, but I have a Tesla now, and that's one of the most modern cars that are out there. But I remember when I had a jingle jangle.
Yeah.
Everybody had a jingle jangle, but and I have that. Then my kids are doing very, very well. But I did have a mishap. I did have a divorce, but I'm quite sure a lot of us had that. But did I have a relationship with my ex where, she calls me, something wrong with my babies? Hey, I'm going to fly out there and be there. So, but you learn, and I'm the oldest, and I have 75 cousins. I have a big family, even though it's just me and my sister, big. I'm the oldest. And so I feel that responsibility to be that example for my cousins, even though they may not see me that way or look at that way, but they look and they see, and they see, I hate to say this word, Little Joe is one of my nicknames.
I will never call you Little Joe.
I have one cousin that calls me Dr. Little Joe. And then I have another nickname is Bo Pete. I don't like to use that, but Bo Pete. But they see me and they say, that's him. Yes, I'm still the little guy from West Baltimore. I think they call that area now Sandtown with Westchester. But 915 North Sticker Street is where I grew up.
Wow. So would you agree that no matter what age, no matter what your background, your educational level, it's never too late to learn about financial literacy? Would you
And
agree?
never too late. The best time to learn would have been maybe like 20 years ago. The second best time to learn is now.
Yeah. And because there's no guarantee on tomorrow.
No, there's not. That was in my study was one of the greatest examples I learned is that one of the questions I said, what would you do with $10,000? And in that study, the youngest and the oldest person said the same exact words. I don't know if I'm going to go today or tomorrow, so I'll take the $10,000 now, which is amazing. Because, you understand that the old guy saying, I take it now because he's old. But the 20-year-old, you would think that he would say, nah, I can wait. But no, he said, no, I want it now too, which is amazing. But you have to pick up the book and get the understanding for the full measure. And then, again, this is the first of 3 of my trilogy of books. So, yeah.
When's your next book coming out, Dr. Joe?
I have that slated for January, in the first quarter, I would say, of 2022.
Okay, so that's not too far off before it comes out. So, Dr. Joe, if somebody, whether it's a married couple or a veteran or someone just looking to make a change in their financial portfolio, how can they go about working with you?
They can first start out by, you can go to my website, is www.blakemediallc.com. And there's a tab that says my book where you can purchase, go there and purchase my book. There's a contact page that says contact me now, and you can go there and you can send me an email where you can contact me there as well. You can send me an email and it comes directly to me. I have a number where you can contact me. It's 623-748-7689. And it's a number that can reach me at my cell number directly, or you can leave a message there where I can follow up with you. And there's also a way where you go to that website as well, and you can have a Calendly appointment to reach me as well. And we can set up video, a Zoom conference, so we can have a Zoom meeting as well. Zoom, everyone has a Zoom. And so we can Zoom it up like we're Zooming up right now and have a Zoom meeting. And I'm licensed in 10 different states. So depending on where you are, we can do business that way as well too. So I've been licensed for 27 years. So I've been doing this for a minute.
Well, Dr. Joe, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you and learning more about how you're helping others make changes in their life. And I always call it get to know the person behind the brand and the business, because you truly have beat the odds. Your family and everything you and your kids and probably your grandkids are all accomplishing. I appreciate you, Dr. Joe. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm truly I call myself a very like a diverse family, because I have African American grandchildren, I have Latino grandchildren, and I have Asian grandchildren. So I'm a whole diverse family.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Dr. Joe Blake Jr. with Blake Media LLC.
Thank you.